I'd like to try to understand, through the insight of Rav Shimshon Pinkus and his beautiful Sefer Galus and Nechama, how could we understand the chesed of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the Churban? How can we understand in context that Hashem loves us, and as a result of His love for us, that's why the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. To explain this with a pasuk in Mishlei, Et Asher Yohav Hashem Yochiach, that Hashem Dafke gives us tochacha out of love. And that's how we can understand, the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash out of the love of Hashem for Klal Yisrael. That's why He sent us the greatest tochacha, the Churban Beis Hamikdash. How can we understand that? How can we understand that this was Hashem's love for us in such a terrible, tragic destruction of the Beis Hamikdash? So I want to start with a parak in Tehillim, parak Ayin Zayin, parak Ayin Tet, which begins with the words Mizmor La'asaf, Elokim ba'u goyim b'nachal asecha, tim'u et ha'chal kodshecha. A song to Asaf. Hashem came. Hashem, the goyim came, and they came to your nachla. They came to your portion. And they defiled the sanctuary. And et Yerushalayim, samu et Yerushalayim le'iyim. They caused Yerushalayim to become like a pile of rubble. So the question that the Medrash asks on those words is, why would you begin a parak of Tehillim that talks about such terrible tragedy and destruction? Why would you call this parak Mizmor La'asaf, a song to Asaf? Wouldn't it be more appropriate to call such a parak Kina La'asaf, Bechi La'asaf, right? Kina meaning lamenting, eulogizing for Asaf, or Bechi, tears for Asaf. Why would you call it Mizmor? Zamer means to sing. What is there to sing about when we're talking about the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash? So the Medrash goes on to bring a mashal. A mashal of his son, whose father was a king, and the king had built a beautiful chuppah for the honor of the son getting married, and the chuppah was adorned beautifully, with embroidery, getting ready for this marriage of his son. And in the days leading up to the son's marriage, the son rebelled terribly against his father, and as a result of the rebellion, the father, in his anger for his son, tore this chuppah to shreds. And tragic. Here he had built a beautiful chuppah to celebrate the marriage of his son, and now he ripped it to pieces, right? And the Medrash goes on to say, that a friend of the king went and he took his musical instruments and he started to sing and play his musical instruments, singing about the destruction of the son's chuppah. And everybody around him said to him, the king just destroyed his son's chuppah, and you're singing and playing musical instruments. Are you crazy? Why are you doing such a thing? And his friend said, I'm singing about the fact that the king destroyed the chuppah, but he didn't take his anger out on his son. What is the nimshal? So it says in Medrash, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw the rebellious children, us, Klal Yisrael, rebelling against Hashem, so Hashem didn't destroy us, but He took His anger out on these stones of the Beis Hamikdash. As Shafach HaKadosh Baruch Hu chamato al ha'itzim v'al ha'avanim. Hashem poured His wrath out on the wood and the stones, v'lo shafach chamato al Yisrael. But He didn't take His anger out on Klal Yisrael. And that's why it's a Mizmor La'asaf. The reason to rejoice in the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash is that Hashem did not destroy Klal Yisrael. He didn't destroy the people, but He destroyed the wood and the stones of the Beis Hamikdash. So how do we understand this medrash? Right? There were people who were killed, right? And the pasuk in the next pasuk in that parak Ayin Tet of Tehillim goes on to say, "Natnu et nivlat avadecha ma'achal la'of hashamayim, basar chasidecha l'chayeto aretz." Right? The flesh of Klal Yisrael, became food for the birds and the animals. Shavchu damam kamayim, their blood was spilled like water. Sivot Yerushalayim, surrounding the cities of the streets of Yerushalayim. Ve'in kover, and they were not able to bury them. And right, there were people who were killed, right? So the anger was taken out on the people also. So how could we even understand the mashal and nimshal in understanding that Hashem didn't punish the people, but He just destroyed the Beis Hamikdash? It doesn't seem to make any sense. So Rav Pinkus goes on to explain what's happening here with the mashal, and he explains the mashal of an artist. Imagine you have an artist, very, very talented artist, and he's been spending months painting a beautiful painting that's the painting of his dreams. Okay, it shows all his talents. This painting is going to bring him his fame and fortune, and he climbs every day to a beautiful view from a mountain where you see a valley below, and he's been painting, for hours every day. And when he's finally up to putting the finishing touches on his painting, he asks a friend to come give his critique of the painting. So his friend comes with him on the hike up to this mountain, and the artist props his painting up on the mountain, and he wants to get a good view of it to see, from his own eye, to see how it came out. So, you want to see something. If you're too close, you don't get a good picture of the whole thing. So he steps back another step. So he's going to be able to get a good glimpse of his picture with the background behind him. And he's so caught up in his artwork that he keeps taking another step back, another step back, and his friends starts yelling at him, "Don't go back anymore, look behind you, there's a cliff behind you, if you keep going back you're going to fall off the cliff." And that's it. The artist is so caught up in his artwork that he doesn't hear his friend calling him over and over again, "Stop, you're going to fall, don't take any more steps back." And in desperation to save his life, what does his friend do? His friend runs forward and he grabs the picture and he starts to rip the picture to shreds. And at that point, the artist looks at his friend and he runs to his friend and he shakes him and he wants to rip him to pieces. He says, "What did you do? You destroyed my artwork." And the friend looks at his friend, the artist, and he says to him, "I might have destroyed your artwork, but I just saved your life. Look behind you." And the artist looks behind him and he sees the cliff, and he realizes, "You're right, you just saved my life." How do we understand the Nimshal? Klal Yisrael were taking a step away, going a step further away from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and Hashem kept calling out to them through the Nevi'im, "Don't stop, come back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu." And they were given Tochacha and they didn't listen. And they kept going away and away from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the Beis HaMikdash was their crutch. Right? The art was our Beis HaMikdash. They kept looking at the Beis HaMikdash and saying, we do something wrong, we still have the kapara that we can get in the Beis HaMikdash. We still have the avoda, we have the karbanos, we have that seir, the goat that's sent over the cliff, right? We have all these means of kapara, and we use the Beis HaMikdash as our art, as our source, we have this. We could keep going further and further away from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is yelling them, "Stop, you're destroying yourself, you're taking away further, another step away from me." And they didn't hear the Nevi'im. And they kept going further away and further away and further away. And they were destroying themselves. They were spiritually destroying themselves. And out of desperation, what did HaKadosh Baruch Hu do? He had to destroy the Beis HaMikdash. And at that point, what ends up happening? And that's when Klal Yisrael had started to take the steps forward. Al Naros Bavel Sham Yashavnu Gam Vachinu B'Zachrenu et Zion. Right? We started to remember Zion. Right? We cried and we realized what we had. We're remembering B'Zachrenu et Zion. We remembered Zion. We remembered the Beis HaMikdash. We remembered how good we had it, the closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But until HaKadosh Baruch Hu destroyed the Beis HaMikdash, we didn't wake up. We kept going further and further away until Hashem had to destroy the Beis HaMikdash in order for us to start taking the steps forward. Right? So the chesed of the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash was that, yes, the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, and yes, tragically, people were destroyed. The bodies were destroyed, but the neshama of Klal Yisrael was saved. Okay, and that's when we started coming closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So when we look at it in that way, we understand, okay, the chesed and the Churban. Okay, out of love for us, HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't want us to destroy ourselves spiritually. Right? In order to save the neshama, he had to destroy the Beis HaMikdash and he had to destroy some of the bodies. But what we're left is that Klal Yisrael were saved. That was the love of the Churban. I just want to end, okay, with one last mashal. Rav Pinkus, okay, to go back, Rav Pinkus had a beautiful usage of mashal to make very, very powerful points. So he brings a mashal to understand, okay, how sometimes a love can be shown much more strongly with a punishment rather than with a reward. And he gives an example. He says, a father could sometimes give a child a candy to show he loves him, and he can also give a child a punishment to show he loves him. And sometimes the punishment is much stronger than the candy. How could this be? So he says, every shul has a candy man, right? A candy man in a shul gives out candies to the kids who sit still maybe, or just even for coming to shul, they get a candy, right? He likes to be the generous person in the shul, and he wants the kids to have a good association with the sweetness of coming to daven, and he gives out candies. But does he really know the children that he's giving those candies to? Does he even know the names of the children he's giving the candies to? No. He doesn't love these children. He stopped randomly giving them a candy. Okay, so a candy doesn't necessarily show love for the child. Okay, but when you want to punish a child, right, you can't punish a child unless you love them. Right? There has to be that love there, and then out of love for the child, you can punish the child, okay, to be able to give them tochacha and show them, okay, I'm trying to help you, I'm trying to make you grow, right? So sometimes a father's love is more intense with the punishment than with the candy. Okay, and that's how we can understand that sometimes Klal Yisrael has to be punished. Sometimes they need that wake-up call, but et asher yohav Hashem yochiach, out of love for Klal Yisrael, sometimes Hashem has to send the tochacha. And that's the way we can reflect on the Churban Beis HaMikdash, to see Hashem's love in the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash.